A place to make new friends, a place to make enemies, and most importantly, a place to have fun. People are going to tell you that starting a tavern is a terrible idea. It's cliché, it's generic, puts players on the spot without knowing what to do, and will be awkward and kill the mood. That doesn't have to be the case though. I've started a lot of campaigns in taverns. I've also started a lot of campaigns not in taverns. But today I want to show you why starting in a tavern can be a great idea and how you can actually pull it off. So, without further ado, let's find out what makes taverns great. Right from the get-go, you can show your players a huge amount of world building, and in a much better way than a 10-page document you've written for your group that they've definitely read before your first session. You don't tell them about it, you show them your world building. Is there tension between tieflings and humans? What would an elf say if there's a drow in your party? Are there any major events going on in the region? Are there refugees because a nearby city got dragged into hell? Are more mercenaries and soldiers around because the king is rallying troops for an upcoming war? I usually have some NPC approach the most outlandish player character in the party and grill them a little bit about their culture, like a child going up to the dwarf asking him what the jewelry in his beard is all about. That's a cool, low-stakes opportunity for your players to join in on the world building. They might not have thought about the little fact before because they just put it in there because it looks cool, but now they have to make something up which in turn makes them feel more connected to their character. After all, they just told that child that each ring woven into the beard stands for a felt enemy, and now we know that dwarves are a rather militaristic bunch. Or whatever else your player came up with. You will see. Those are some very minor things that not only show your players that the world is alive, but also how the world reacts to them, and that you're inviting them to contribute to your world as well. And in a tavern you can do this effortlessly, because taverns are a place for people of all social status, craft, and in a fantasy world even of different species to mingle. It's the place you go to after a long day of work to enjoy a warm meal, a cold mug of ale, upbeat music, and to just socialize. And that's what's most important in a tavern, the people who hang out there. Think of the barkeep, of the waiters. Think of patrons who frequent this place and also what they do here. Does the tavern offer anything aside from warm food and cheap alcohol? Maybe bards are hanging around playing music and telling stories. Maybe there's some kind of games, like darts or pool or bowling for all I care. Think of the atmosphere. No matter how hard life on the outside is, no matter the hardships of going to work every day or that there are rumors of civil war brewing in the capital, you go to the tavern to forget your sorrows, to brighten up your day, and if that doesn't work, to punch someone in the face. And among all of those people is a particular group that your campaign is all about. The adventuring party with your player characters. And adventure they shall find. There's no easier place to sprinkle in plot hooks for your players than the humble tavern. For where alcohol flows, tongues get loose. People come here to gossip, so characters can overhear conversations, maybe even some that definitely weren't meant for their ears. Two shady figures are planning to rob a stagecoach the very next day, which your thief accidentally overhears. A good opportunity to make some money. Meanwhile, at a different table, some lumberjacks are unhappy about goblin raids becoming more common and how they want to look for work elsewhere. Unless someone strong were to approach their boss and get rid of those raiders, of course. But not only gossip, also news travel faster around here. A few soldiers are hanging out for the night. They are on a journey to assist the king striking down a rebellion near the capital. And on the notice board, the local baron is offering a bounty for wolves that terrorize the local farms. Not only does this offer some choices for your players already, but it also offers a low-stakes opportunity to do some roleplay. But that doesn't just start with the strangers around. It will of course start at the very table where the PCs are sitting. And naturally they hang out at the tavern, because that's the first place adventurers go to when getting into a new town anyway. But what brings your party here? Do they know each other? Are they locals or are they from outside? I think a tavern is a better start for a group that already knows each other, which you have probably discussed with your players in session 0. But it works for a group that doesn't know each other as well if you give them a reactive situation instead of hooks to choose from proactively. But that's for a little bit later. Because first, you can let the group roleplay among themselves, describing what their characters look like, what equipment they carry and how they behave in the setting. If you got a group that vibes really well, that won't even need much input from you. But to give them a little nudge in the right direction, have the waiter come over and ask them what they want to eat and drink. That's super low stakes situation, yeah, but it's loosening up the talking muscles a little. Just don't expect it to carry you through the whole evening. For that, you can use some of the hooks I mentioned earlier. But being proactive is really hard sometimes, especially for new players. So don't bet too hard on them just going for those hooks. Not everyone just goes for every little bait you throw out. But if you have players like that, you will be in for a great time, I promise you that. And if you want to be proactive, leave a like right now and subscribe to the channel. So, let's say you don't live in this magical world where your players just gobble up everything you throw at them. In this case, you want to confront them with a reactive situation. Always have one of those ready for your players. You might not need it, but if you do, you probably don't want to make it up on the spot. Probably. There's actually a very good example for a reactive encounter in the official 5e adventure Waterdeep Dragon Heist, which is weirdly named because it's not really about a heist, but that's not the point today. Anyway, it starts in the Yawning Portal Inn, named after the gaping hole in the middle of the tavern that leads to Undermountain, a mega dungeon right under the city of Waterdeep. And as the player characters are hanging out in the tavern, a troll emerges from said portal. That starts the players right in the action, giving them a huge monster to deal with. Of course, your tavern might not feature a convenient portal that spits out plot devices, so what might you use instead? Have something happen that your player characters can't easily ignore. Have winged demons bursting in through the windows and starting to massacre the patrons. Or do it like a Nightmare or Ragged Hollow, of which I recently made a video. Everyone gets called to the temple because a magical barrier has formed around it and all the children and scholars are trapped in there. And whatever kickstarts this should of course tie into what the campaign is about. Why did demons try to kidnap the barkeep's daughter? Or how can we save those poor little children? And then your players can still decide how they want to tackle it. Will they follow the call to adventure? Or use the chance to take off with everyone's valuables? But well, the way I know my players, they'll probably come up with something I haven't planned for anyway, so maybe don't prepare where this might go too far in advance and just go with the flows. The player characters' actions write the nicest stories after all. Oh, and if you got some great starting scenes for taverns as well, just put them in the comments after watching this video. So, I think a tavern is a great way to start your campaign. You can introduce your world by showing rather than telling, you got a low stake opportunity to loosen up to roleplay, and a good excuse to introduce basically whatever character you want into your campaign. Is it a cliché because everyone does it? Maybe, but there are reasons a lot of people do it. Because who wouldn't love to go to the tavern, have a nice cold pint and wait for all of this to blow over?